You think you're not creating, you are still creating.
Yeah.
When you're opting out of choices, you're choosing that.
Yeah.
When you're doing nothing, you are creating nothingness. So, although nothingness is something. So there's to bring attention to that is a vital component of creating actively and with intention and purpose.
Yeah.
And that's where it feels like we're coming into that space for ourselves now. It's been a journey so far, and I'm sure the journey will continue, but at the moment we're coming to that central point of, okay, this is where we're at, and how do we bring that energetic understanding of it into a manifested form. Hello, welcome to the weekly brew here at Redefining Success with Emma and Iona. Welcome, Iona.
Welcome, Emma. This is a space where we share our journey to unlock abundance and to create a soul-led business. So, Emma, what's brewing for you this week?
Well, there was a pre-what's brewing and there's a now what's brewing.
Yes.
What was brewing up to the point of where we are now was this idea of re-looking at where we're at, re-looking at your business if you've got a business, clearing out, dusting away the cobwebs, having another look with fresh eyes from a different angle at what we're creating, or if you're doing it, what you're creating. And that's what it was with me bringing it to the brew. And then we've had a massive tech meltdown today. So all the tech that we've tried, except for this, fingers crossed this is still holding, but up to this point has failed. And so now I'm wondering, is this part of clearing out and looking at things with fresh eyes? Or, which it could be that, because we've been forced to come out into nature. We're at Buckfast Abbey, which is a really beautiful place.
And it was raining as we set off to come here to do it outside.
Yeah, supposed to be a heat wave, and it poured down with rain as we were coming.
But we found a lovely umbrella open just for us in Buckfast Abbey near a big water wheel, which I guess is just where we're meant to be. We're meant to, for some reason, be doing it on this lands of this ancient abbey.
Yeah.
Next to a water wheel. And I think it's because, land holds energy, it holds transmission. And somehow being forced to come to a certain place supports what we're doing around connecting to sacred sites and connecting to land and bringing through our message in connection with nature, with all of life.
Yeah, and what's interesting here about this land is Buckfast Abbey is a Catholic abbey. I grew up in a Catholic culture and Catholic family, so I do have a lot of issues around Catholicism. But what I really like is that we've got this water wheel. So the organised religion often is very symbolic of the patriarchal control over nations.
And over nature,
especially
in this country, how a lot of churches were built on ancient pagan ceremonial sites to repress that, to repress the connection to nature, the nature religions.
And yet we've got this water wheel, which water is the symbol of the feminine and the flow. So we've got, although it has been constructed, you've got this kind of masculine energy of construction and structure, enabling a flow and a direction of the water, unlike a river which would be formed naturally mostly. So there's a lot of interesting things here which are mirroring life and where we're at with the business and what we're bringing to everyone. For me personally, with my own history and my concepts and ideas of the church and control, and then this beautiful, lovely water mill wheel which is still going, because a lot of those have been shut down, so it's actually really lovely to be doing this beside one. Yeah, and interesting what you said about all the churches were built on those pagan sites, and often pagan symbols were put in churches. I don't know if anyone ever goes around churches, but you can often see in the very old ones, there's like Sheen and the Gigs, or symbols of the natural world, like in corn, engraved on the stone, or sometimes in the church itself. And they did this to bring the people into the church and to convert them to Christian. And often if they didn't, they were in danger one way or another. So in some ways it wasn't really an informed choice.
Yeah, I was in a beautiful chapel in Glastonbury yesterday that's just been opened up. It's a new offering to the public. Obviously it's a very old, beautiful chapel, and on the walls there were figures of saints killing snakes and killing dragons. But what was interesting was around the sides were going up were entwined snakes as a frame, kind of as a rising kundalini energy going right up to the crown where the snakes kind of joined. This was all in the same image actually. Snakes and dragons were being killed, but at the same time there was the connection to snakes rising and being a positive thing. So I think that really speaks to this mixed messaging and confusion, I think, that often gets created. And I'm really with the fact that we've come here to this place. Our whole brew is being influenced by this place. We didn't know what was going to be said. We started doing a brew on Zoom. The tech failed. We've been forced to come here. And it's literally changing the whole weave of what we're bringing, what we're saying, and what's coming through today. Because we started and it definitely was a completely different trajectory to what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
But what's here is this confusion that's been created, that's been almost instilled in our society to confuse us, to detract us from our connection to nature, which is our connection to ourself, our connection to our own truth, our connection to our own voice. And I think where we find ourselves now, especially our whole purpose in redefining success, is let's come back to our essence. Let's come back to our inner self. Let's reconnect to nature. Let's listen. Let's reweave that remembering and that connection. And from there, let's find ourselves and let's emerge into our natural creative expression as part of life and see what success looks like from that place. So it connects to this deep remembering, but we're having to go on this journey right from the beginning, right from how do we even do this? Well, let's just connect to our joy. Let's see where that takes us. And we're having to walk in the dark and find our way back to our true expression, our true connection to our essence, to nature, to our co-creation. How do we co-create? How do we even know who we are to begin to create from a real authentic place? And it's incredible that it is such an unweaving and a journey back to that. But it's because of all of these seeds that have been planted to try and get us off track through our history, which are literally woven into the buildings that are on the land, that are around us, the images.
The fabric of everything, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. And it's interesting, when we were at Avebury last time, and we were with these incredible stones and the land and the trees that all of our ancient ancestors have walked that land and been part of those stones. Wherever they are in the world, all the sacred sites of our ancestors were built. Mostly we don't know how they did it, how they built these, and certainly with these big stone circles in Great Britain, no one really knows how those were erected. So we were at that ancient sacred site, and then literally a week later we are at a church. And not any church, but a Catholic church, which was the original Christian religion. So the stuff that got rooted at the beginning, it was, it's got, everybody knows the history of the Catholic Church and how corrupt it is and was. And so to me, it's fascinating that we've come from this earthy kind of, a place that touches my soul, the way our ancestors would have been with those stones, whatever they did there, to a place that's was very orchestrated, was built purposefully to detach people from their true essence, from their true connection with nature. That our ancestors would have been told that we can only connect to spirit through a preacher, a priest, a pastor, a vicar, and they were the only ones that had the connection to God, if that's whatever spirituality is called. It was given that name, a masculine identity, and the whole feminine stripped away. And we are, all of us, every single person on the planet is a result of that stripping away of the feminine essence, of the feminine quality, of the feminine truth, of her cycles, of her knowing, of her intuition, of her wisdom, of her seership, of her blood. Everyone, all of us, none of us are exempt from that. And so the idea of redefining success and bringing our truth back to business and to the world is so much more than just shifting a mindset. We are having to walk through the dust, through the ashes of what was burned to recreate from the truth of who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was up in Glastonbury this weekend, another deeply held sacred site, the lands of Avalon. And what was beautiful about going up there was I connected with so many people who have remembered their soul gifts, their soul callings, and are giving that, are transmitting that, and are absolutely connected to the sacred. And I could feel that it was so tangible, and receiving from quite a few women and a man actually who were living their soul gifts. And it was such a beautiful transmission, but it did leave me with the question, well, who am I? Who am I? And a confusion around what is the clarity in what I'm bringing? Where is my soul song? Where is my clearness in this? And it left me with that question. But again, as always happens to me, what we've shared on our previous brews comes back to me to give me wisdom. It's almost like in these brews we're channeling our higher soul self. We don't know what's going to come through, but it just comes through. And then our brews and what we share, our voices, our message comes back to talk to me in the coming weeks and guides me, which is, I find, really beautiful. It's like my higher self guiding my path. So what came back was, come back to your center, which was what we shared in our last brew. Come back to the center, anchor in that. And I offered a free gift, which was how to connect to soul essence. And when I did that journey for myself, I went back to my childlike self, which was connecting to a feeling of when I was a child and being free, and this rainbow, iridescent rainbow essence that I connect to, which is connected to sunshine and joy and the freedom of a child just running into the excitement, the newness of life. And when I connect back to that, I feel the joy, I feel this rainbow frequency around me. And it was, that's my essence. It's a feeling. And if I can connect to this feeling, almost like a orb around me, just like that's my sovereignty. This is who I am. This is my truth of my expression, which is very sweet and very beautiful and joyful to myself. And if I can anchor in that and know everybody else has their own different expressions, I don't need to envy them or wonder, how I can be that or be similar to them. It's not about that, which I think a lot of business tries to emulate other businesses, and then we lose ourselves. So this is me, this is my core essence. And when we go to these sacred sites and connect to places, and I can feel the energy of those places, which are living entities and they have living voices, and I can tune in and listen and feel their energy. But when I want to co-create with that, I have to come into my own essence. I have to come into my own energy, which is this rainbow essence. And from there, it's like, how can that reach out and touch the energy of those stones, that place, touch that energy and let it find its note, let it weave in a sacred co-creation with that energy? How does my energy want to co-create with that? So I'm not losing my energy. I am embodying it and I'm bringing it gently to meet the energy that I'm wanting to co-create with. And then there's this beautiful weaving. And I was lucky enough to go on a song of voice workshop with a beautiful man called Leo Day in Glastonbury. And he's studied since a child in learning to sing, learning voice in the temples of India. And like everything in India, it's a portal to the sacred. And he says when you sing, it's bringing, the Shiva, which is the push, the loudness, the raw, the unformed, to the Shakti, which is, it's the quieter flow. And then they meet in Jiva, which is, how do they both come together? And how does your home note, your authentic note of your voice, and this is the same with creating anything, with your frequency, your home note of your own frequency, join with another frequency. So if a note gets played on the piano, how does your voice touch it like a lover and want to emerge and join with that note? And it's this beautiful, like two lovers coming together, and I'm feeling that with co-creation, anything out there that I'm wanting to connect to and co-create with. It's not forgetting my essence, but it's bringing it in that jiva and letting it weave with the energies of where I have already met and listened to and felt their energies.
So that just got me thinking, because there's a lot of busyness going on around here, and that just made me think of the fabric of life and how the interconnectedness of everything, and how our energy touches things, whether we're aware of that or not. So we can be getting on with our day, but there is a constant co-creation, there's a constant interaction, there's a constant flow and exchange of energies between people, between objects, between animals, between plants, everything. And so in shamanism, there's the understanding is that everything is alive, everything has soul, everything has spirit. It's essentially the idea that like atoms, protons, all of they're all buzzing with some sort of frequency, and when they connect, they create another frequency, and so that is the life force that activates everything. And so that includes the clothes we wear, the chair we sit on, the computers we use, the tech we use, which wasn't in our favour earlier on. So by listening to that, so we could have said when the tech failed, okay, let's scrap it for today, nothing's happening. But instead we were like, well, what's happening here? What's being shown to us? What's being revealed? Oh, maybe we're not meant to do it inside. We need to go and find another spot. And so it's that kind of listening, that quietness, that idea that everything is in constant flow, constant connection, that leads you to the next bit of your path. So we could have just shut down and said, okay, it's a no, and we didn't. We were just open to, okay, we're not supposed to be doing it here. Where is it taking us? And it's taken us to this spot, which is very sacred for some people. I mean, everything is sacred, really, but in terms of it being a Catholic abbey, for some people it's like a pilgrimage coming here. And so then we have this lovely interplay of this very strong patriarchal masculine energy with this flow of the water wheel, and we're right in the middle of it. We're between the two. We're literally sat recording this between the abbey and the water wheel, and so in a way we form a central point of fusion, and that's what we want to bring, a fusion and a diffusion of old, angry, fighting energies into a new, inclusive, co-creative infusion of something. I've just said all those rhyming words. Anyway, into something beautiful, so that there's no there's no need to be up against it all the time and shutting down. We can actually soften and see what's happening with those connections, and that will lead to something new and beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really with that. A lot of life is, I'm trying to create something for the future, or it's always planning for things in the future. And what we miss is that life is happening and can only happen now.
Yeah.
That we are in a permanent portal of creation, and that this is the tree of life that rises through us.
Yeah.
It's the energy, the life force that moves up through our whole body and creates this toroidal field all around us. It's connected to the full web of life. So I met this beautiful tree in Glastonbury, and sitting with it, I saw how its energy rises up through the tree and it goes out in this absolute full mandala that connects to all of life, the tree of life, and it comes back down through its roots and it comes up again. But we are in that central trunk of the tree, rising up with it, with all of creation. It's the tree of life where everything flows through that central channel and is connecting and merging and reweaving everything. All these points of energy are connecting and creating something, creating sparks as they meet, like atoms colliding and the Big Bang, however the world was formed, but it's formed by these interactions, by these sacred co-creations, these meetings, and the expression of those meetings. Everything is happening now. This is co-creation.
Yeah.
But it's also like to know your center in that, to know your own frequency, so that when you meet something, you are conscious, present, and aware of what is being created, and you're in your process with that. You're not in your mind. You haven't left the tree of life. When we go into our minds, we actually step out of that field, and we get lost. We go into confusion, and we get lost. And of course, we're still in the whole web, but we're not a conscious, active co-creator. And that's the difference between being aware of your center, holding your center, being aware of all of life and connected to it, and the interactions that are playing out, and deep listening, and being in that flow, being consciously in that flow, and unconsciously not aware of what's being created. Stuff's been created anyway. It's just whether you are consciously aware of what you're creating and what you're a part of, because we do have agency.
Yeah. And
in our consciousness.
When you think you're not creating, you are still creating.
Yeah.
When you're opting out of choices, you're choosing that.
Yeah.
When you're doing nothing, you are creating nothingness. So, although nothingness is something. So there's, to bring attention to that is a vital component of creating actively and with intention and purpose.
Yeah.
And that's where it feels like we're coming into that space for ourselves now. It's been a journey so far, and I'm sure the journey will continue, but at the moment we're coming to that central point of, okay, this is where we're at, and how do we bring that energetic understanding of it into a manifested form.
Yeah.
And so,
Beautiful.
yeah. On that note, here's to redefining success. We recommend this tea and chocolate, and
so much love.
yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.